Hello, and welcome to Creators Corner. I'm Dr. Regina Davis Moss, and I am joined by none other than Preston Mitchum. And, we just got some really devastating news last week with the SCOTUS decision. There's anger, there's betrayal, all the feelings. And so I want to get in it today with your legal mind, your culture, you kind of approach this from all aspects. But the main thing is just to make sure the people that are out here listening understand what's at stake. So let's just start at the beginning and just tell us in plain language what this decision means.
Yeah, plain language is really important here because Louisiana v. Calais is kind of complicated when you really actually read the legal opinion. I mean, in short, all of this is about fair representation, fair voting and representation of what that means. And in this decision in particular, what the Supreme Court ultimately did was very lightheartedly strike down Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. And for everyone's awareness, we hear about the Voting Rights Act all the time, preeminent legislation, 1965, really one of the premier civil rights amendments and in bills of our time. And it's really important that folks understand that what it did is essentially attempt to strip a second Black majority district in Louisiana, which is critical because Louisiana is 1/3 Black. So the Black residents of Louisiana already had less representation than what their actual proportion said they should have based on the rules of proportional representation and actually electing your own people. But the Supreme Court said, sorry, we're not going to care about that. We don't want to do that. And it aligned true to form what we knew, 6 conservative justices, 3 progressive justices who voted against it, 6 who voted in favor of it.
Yeah. So what does this mean in terms of obviously we keep hearing about voter suppression. How does something like this weaken our power, our vote, and how does this really get us to that idea of voter suppression?
I think there's a couple of different answers to that. So on one hand, voter suppression, in my opinion, is not just institutional. That's how it starts. Right? What are the policies, the systems that are being in place to stop people's access to the ballot box? Which we see happen time and again. This does not look the same as the Jim Crow of the yesteryear. This does not look the same as, sicking dogs on Black people. It doesn't look the same as poll taxes and grandfather clause and literacy tests. But we're still discussing Jim Crow type policies, just with a butter knife, right? Not with a sharp kitchen knife anymore. I think on the other hand, so that's what it does. It actually tries to create this lack of unfettered access to the ballot box. They're doing it with the SAVE Act that they're trying to push through, even though they failed, thankfully. But that's one way voter suppression works. What are the policies we've been put in place? What are the laws and other mechanisms we can put in place to say, no, you are not going to have access to this ballot? The second thing is, what does it do to people interpersonally and personally? I think if you see all of the things actually happening across the board, you start to say, why didn't vote?
Right.
What's the point of voting? Because they're just going to strip our vote away anyway. So that I always say, if they are trying to do that, it is because our voice is so powerful. And they know that when we vote, we do win all the time. And they're afraid of that. And so, again, it's institutional voter suppression, but it also does something to us that leads to disillusionment.
I think that's really important because people tend to think about, well, if my vote didn't matter. And if you do think about it from an individual aspect, you could believe that, right? But we have to get to this point where we're realizing your voice is just one of many, and then if we all come together, then a collective vote absolutely matters.
Absolutely.
I want to talk a little bit about the Jim Crow and all these other things. There's going to be a call from CBC this week to businesses to, really put your money where your mouth is, stand behind those people that are supporting a lot of your bottom line in terms of stores. Or what are your thoughts about that? Do you think that's going to be an effective approach right now?
Yeah, I think white supremacy only knows economic power, right? And so I think in order for us to attack that, we have to actually stop buying after businesses and other institutions. Shout out to Vincent Evans and the Congressional Black Caucus. I think they've been doing some incredible work, and this is an example of that, right? And so for us to really push back on these businesses, we did it with Target, right? We've seen such a successful effort to boycott Target and strip the money from their hands and really reinvest it in our own communities. I wish I knew another way of other than economic deregulation. But that's just what it is. People respond to that. And Black people spend money.
Yeah.
I really want people to know that. There's a cost to hate. There's a cost to homophobia, to racism. Like, businesses literally do worse when they are racist and sexist and homophobic. And I really wish they knew that, or they cared enough to know that. And I think that what CBC is doing, what other orgs are doing to really push back and say, since you love capitalism so much, we're actually going to subvert this and show you why capitalism actually hurts you too. Yeah. And it hurts your bottom line. And I think that's one of the very ways we have to respond. It's not a dollar.
I'm thinking about my granny who said, if it don't make dollars, it don't make sense.
Literally.
But if it makes dollars, it will make sense.
Sense and sense.
Right.
Granny knew.
Yes.
Granny knew.
So I know you know reproductive justice. I know you cut your teeth in this. Can you talk a little bit about like this from a reproductive justice standpoint? How does it like impact voting rights, bodily autonomy, democracy? How does that all work together?
Democracy, voting rights, racial justice, all those things are reproductive justice issues, right? And it's true to all of the tenets, but it's especially true around like how do you actually live a life that you deserve to live in the communities that you deserve to live in and the families that you deserve to have. For me, when I think about democracy, right, it's always around like how are we creating an environment that's rooted in dignity, autonomy, humanity, and you can't get that without voting. Or at the very least, if you are not electing people, if you're being stripped of electing people who can represent your interests, that is directly a reproductive justice issue. If I can't say, actually, this person is going to root for equity and accountability and safety and dignity and won't have police violence and won't just, root in gentrification and root out Black people and businesses, ultimately, you have to do that by voting. Voting is one tool in the toolbox. I've never said that it's everything because it can't be everything. Yeah. It's not designed to be that way. We have to pair that with however much money against stripping power through capitalism. We have to actually organize and create activist spaces and our brave spaces for us to speak out on these issues. But all of this is about reproductive justice. And it's deeper than just short voting. Yeah. But it's like, what can voting get you that people are trying to take away from you, and how does it impact your bodies? If you have a district attorney and I can't vote to elect a district attorney who will decide on sentencing, that's an RJ issue. If I can't elect a member of Congress, because that's all what we're talking about when we're talking about Voting Rights Act, right? It's directly connected to federal representation. If I can't actually vote for someone to be my congressperson who represents my issues, who is pro-abortion, not just pro-choice, but pro-abortion, wants to talk about sex ed, wants to talk about racial justice, who doesn't want all the money to go to policing, if I can't vote for that person, that is a direct access and issue to reproductive justice. And I really want everyone to start thinking about voting, democracy, racial justice, equity as reproductive justice issues.
All interconnected, yes.
All of it.
So, we can't negate the fact that people are angry, afraid, betrayed. What do you do in this moment right now? What would you tell somebody to do?
Feel their feelings. Right, like I've come to a point where I cannot lie to people, right? Like I understand when people feel disillusioned. I understand when they feel hurt, harmed, and abused by the system, and we can't stay there. Right. The joke I used to always make to people when they were like, "We're gonna sit down voting, whether it's Black men, Black women," I'm like, "No, we're not," because we don't know how to. Right. Like we fight for ourselves. Yes. Other people happen to benefit from it, but we fight for ourselves, and because we know fighting for ourselves gives other people liberation, we do it because of that. Anyhow, and so for me, I'm always like, okay, why are you still fighting? You have to find joy through a way. So my joy is sushi and crab legs. I'm gonna have that after I commiserate. Both and. Yes. And so that is, it's like what brings you joy, but feel your feelings first. But there's an other side to your feelings. There's an other side to your sadness, and that has to be community. That has to be engagement. That has to be liberation. And that is what keeps me going. Because I fully believe we will win. We just have to, unfortunately, this is our moment. And this is one of many moments that are going to lead to something ultimately. But we're fighting for all of these moments together, and so did our ancestors, and so did our parents and grandparents, right? Like, we're not the only people who are in moments. And they fought it, and I feel like it is my duty because of them to keep fighting too.
Yeah. And know that, you may not live to see it, right?
Right. In fact, the world I envision, I know I won't live to see in my lifetime. Like, I want a world that's so radically different and rooted in such radical imagination that I don't even want to be able to see it in this lifetime. Because I don't even think we know what that looks like just yet.
Right.
And I think our children and everyone after them deserve just that type of world.
Yeah. So Loretta Ross always makes this comment, and I'm riffing off of this. This is not what she said, but she basically said we're all a part of this chain of freedom, right? And all we have to do is make sure that we don't break the chain at our link.
I love that. That reminds me of the book by Regina Davis, Freedom is a Constant Struggle. Because, you know, freedom, if freedom was easy, we would have gotten it. Right? Like, and that's not to make us feel better about it, but it is to say, like, stay the course, because it is a constant struggle. We're always fighting for new versions of freedom every day. Our version of freedom in 2026 may look different in 2050, right? And it probably should look different because society changed.
We realized what we thought was democracy, we're redefining it, right? I mean, we were so disillusioned. Not that we weren't.
No, but it reminds me when I'm at protests, people are like, show me what a democracy looks like. This is what a democracy looks like. I'm like, my version is still different. Like, I understand that this is beautiful, but I'm like, my version is even different than this one. But I get the point.
Yes. Right. Well, okay, last question. What if somebody wants to do something now? What do you tell people to do right now?
You know, use your voice is so cliche, but I do mean that. Like, I really want people to realize the power of their own voice. You know, it's why I push back when people say, like, I'm a voice for the voiceless. And I'm like, no one's voiceless. People may not have been able to experience the power of their voice just yet. People may not have a megaphone or a microphone to amplify their voice, and so that is some of our jobs in our positions that we're in. But everyone has a voice, and I want people to feel safe enough to the extent they can, and brave enough to the extent they can to find it, to use it, and to harness it. Whether it's on social media, whether it's in groups with friends, you know, the reality is be unfun at brunch sometimes. Throw a wrench in there and say, what did y'all do today? Did y'all vote? Right? Yeah. Did y'all make a voting plan? And my friends, I'm that person. I love to have fun.
You're bringing it down.
You know, and then we turn it up.
Okay.
But my thing is, like, you always should have those moments with your friends. Like, it reminds me why I love my friends and chosen family so much, because we talk about everything people tell us not to talk about. Why sex is important, why we should have the joyful sex life, why we should actually talk about our salaries and how much money we're making, why we're talking about taxes and debt. Like, that to me are real conversations that people are not having because we're afraid of judgment, and I get it, but that is what people can do, is like be the person that says, you know what, let's demystify all of this. If we're struggling, let's struggle together in community, and how do we actually help each other? Yeah. So find your voice.
I love that. And you know, just like you said, you're at brunch, right? Sometimes you might be the only person that is making the difference in that person being informed in their vote.
Yeah, exactly. Like, some of my friends don't work in policy,
right?
So they're like, I didn't even know that was happening. And you know, there are a lot of things they do. I'm like, what y'all do? I don't get it.
Right.
You know, one time we had to have a conversation around, like, can we talk about what we do for a living for real?
Yeah.
Because sometimes with your friends, you may guess it, but you're like, I actually don't know what that means. And I realized that with chosen family, they really do, or really should, want to know more about our lives.
And they're probably coming to you and saying, well, I'm going to ask you because I know you know.
Absolutely.
So just, you know what, everybody out there, make that your responsibility to become more informed so that you can educate your chosen family. And you know what? Our time has come to an end. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And thank you again for all the amazing work you're doing on the Creators for Change Council.
Oh my God, it's been such a great experience. So thank you.
You know, that's going to be it for this segment of the Creators Corner. Make sure you tune in again.